Hey, Tom here from the Run Testers. In this video, me and 3 of the Run Testers are going to be talking through the Hoka Bondi X shoe. Let's take a look. The Hoka Bondi X costs £180 or $200. It weighs in at 288 grams or 10.6 ounces for men in a size 8, and the drop is 5mm. According to Hoka, the Bondi X takes the popular Bondi shoe design and adds a carbon fibre plate into the mix to produce a more efficient movement per stride, as well as an extended rocker designed for increased acceleration. The maximally cushioned EVA midsole matches the style of the Bondi series, but includes an extended crash pad to add additional softness on landing. The breathable mesh upper features embroidered TPU yarn, as well as a thinner tongue design. There's also a heel tab to help you get the shoe on and off, and the outsole has a modest covering of rubber to protect the midsole foam and add additional grip.
So for me, the Bondi X fit true to size. They're fairly typical for Hokas, I'd say, in that they're quite narrow and tight around the forefoot, but I have a pretty narrow foot and they were true to size for me.
Fit-wise, they're pretty similar. This definitely had the wider toe box. I don't know if you can really see it there. It feels wider and roomier. The upper is also a lot lighter than the classic Bondi. The tongue is a lot slimmer. You've got more of a racing tongue on there compared to old school Bondi, which has the thicker plusher tongue.
So in terms of fit, I would say fine with the Bondi X, not perfect. I did have a couple little issues in my kind of testing with it. What I will say is this is a UK size 8, that's what I would normally run in. From that perspective, it's kind of a very kind of nice wide shoe, so I think it's going to fit a lot of feet sizes, and that's particularly noticeable kind of in the midfoot. And then even when you go into kind of narrows in this up front, I still think you get a decent amount of space without it feeling too tight up in the toe box as well. Now, the couple of things I didn't absolutely love, this tongue, this kind of skinny, really thin, kind of racing style tongue, just doesn't push up, pull in or pull over enough on the top of foot for me, and I just wish it was a few more centimetres to kind of get that kind of nicer fit. I didn't absolutely love that. Now, this heel collar, which is kind of padded, but it's kind of this softly padded material. I found I got some kind of heel slippage on both sides of my feet, mainly on the right side, but I definitely noticed even kind of slower and even on the quicker runs, I did find that I was getting the kind of my heel kind of slipping against this material. So as I said, definitely a wide accommodating shoe, but also not without its issues, which definitely kind of showed throughout my runs.
The fit for me was true to size. I would say that it isn't necessarily a very generous shoe when it comes to width, and my feet are fairly average, maybe slightly wider than normal, and I do find it pushes out a little bit. The material is quite forgiving, so it's not been a problem in my running. I've not had any rubbing or anything like that. But if you've got wide feet, you might have an issue with these, like you might have with many other Hoka shoes.
So in terms of my run test, I've done over 50k in this shoe, and that's come from a mixture of runs. So some kind of longer runs, some kind of easy 10k runs, which I think this is where it felt best suited, and then some quicker 5ks to kind of see where it felt at kind of quicker paces as well. Now, what I will say, the thing that kind of really stood out is this cushioning is kind of very nice and soft. And if you like that kind of thing in your shoe, you know, that's kind of what you get in abundance here, particularly kind of in the midsole and up going towards the forefoot. I think you can really feel that. But for me, while you had that kind of nice kind of soft cushioning, I always kind of felt this kind of clunkiness in the heel in all of my runs. It never kind of really went away from me. So I did a couple of 5k runs in this as well, really to kind of, I think, find out why this carbon plate is in here, maybe engage it a little bit more, see if you can get that kind of snappy, kind of propulsive kind of feeling out of this shoe. And what I will say is I could run quick in it, but I definitely felt like I was weighed down, or I could feel the clunkiness of this heel in those runs. So while there was elements of here that I felt could make it a nicer, kind of more versatile shoe at different paces, I do think there was, you know, this bit at the back here just didn't work for me, and I always kind of felt it was very noticeable. So in terms of running in this shoe, I will say that, yeah, it is definitely built for those comfortable, slow, easy kind of runs. I think potentially you could run or want to run quicker in this, but I think, you know, my issues with the heel here and the chunkiness of it, it just didn't work for me, and I didn't want to really necessarily run quick in this shoe. And obviously I had some upper issues as well. So, okay, not a fantastic experience running in the Bondi X.
I've had a bit of an up and down relationship with the Bondi X while running in it. I've done about 60k in the shoe. That's mostly been a mix of easy runs, some kind of progression runs, then kind of one slightly faster run. And yeah, like I said, early on, I didn't really get anything from it. I wasn't really sure that it was doing anything for me. And then I actually hurt my ankle while wearing it, which obviously makes you think worse of a shoe, but it wasn't the Bondi's fault. You know, I came back and did some more running in it, and I started to enjoy it a little bit more. Before my final run, I did something a bit faster in it, and I really didn't enjoy that at all. So we might as well start with that. I don't really think this is a great kind of shoe for anything beyond kind of easy and steady paces. I find it just a bit too big and cumbersome. It doesn't have a particularly kind of flowing ride to it like some other Hoka shoes do. And yeah, on that kind of fast run, I found it just got in the way and was just a bit too much shoe for me. And I just didn't notice the effect of the plate. That's the big thing, I think, with the shoe. On that kind of faster stuff, I don't really feel like you're getting the propulsive feel that you get from other carbon plate shoes, and if there are efficiency gains there, I think it's more down to things like the rocker and stuff like that. So yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of it for really fast stuff. However, kind of on easier runs, and especially on progression runs actually, where you're kind of more going with the flow and just settling into a nice rhythm, the shoe does have a decent ride to it, I would say actually. Especially I did like kind of a longer run, a 10-mile run, starting from easy pace, finishing steady, and it really flowed through very nicely. Actually, because I wasn't starting at that pace, I just went through the gears slowly. The shoe just seemed to feel a bit more natural, got into a rhythm, and it worked quite well. When going out with the intent to kind of run a bit quicker, it just immediately felt a bit off to me. So yeah, I think it's kind of more good for that, maybe that kind of longer run when you're just, you know, cruising along and then going through the gears a bit at the end. I'll say I don't really love the huge stack of this foam. I don't think this foam's amazing. It's not giving you a whole load back in terms of rebound. I often think with Hoka, the best thing you're getting is the kind of rocker and the kind of smooth effect that you get on shoes like the Mach 4. But because this shoe is a bit bigger, a bit heavier, a bit stiffer with the plate, I didn't really love the ride overall, and found it was only really good for kind of easy cruising. And even then, there are lots of shoes I'd probably prefer for that.
I'm a huge Hoka fan. I love the Bondi 7. I've loved it for years. Well, I've loved the Bondi for years. So I was super excited to see what adding a carbon fibre plate to the Bondi would do to the shoe. I'm kind of on the fence. I love it. I loved it for my long runs. I feel like it's like the faster, younger little brother of the Bondi. It's definitely lighter and it feels quicker on a long run, but it's a lot more expensive, and I don't know, I didn't love it for speed sessions, and I don't know if that's what Hoka intended with the shoe. I feel like they have made an everyday running shoe with a carbon fibre plate, but there are better, if you're going to buy a shoe like this and try and race in it, there are definitely better carbon fibre racing shoes on the market. I found for my speed sessions, it took about half a mile to really get that snap out of the shoe that you want from a carbon fibre plate shoe. You want it to go, and I didn't feel like this did. On a progression run, it did. It was good, it was great, it was comfortable, and it did get that snap, but on a speed session it wasn't really enough. It wasn't what I wanted. I've probably done around 30 miles in it, a few different sessions, and I'd definitely reach for it again for my long run. Probably no, I think I'd still reach for this. I think I'd wear it for some long runs, but if I was going to go out for a really long kind of easy marathon-y run, I'd still pick the Bondi. And they do feel very different. They do feel different underfoot. But again, I still think if I was going to buy a Hoka for a long run, I'd go for the Bondi, not the Bondi X. But I guess this does have more versatility than the old Bondi, because I definitely wouldn't even think about this for a speed session. Whereas I might, for a progression run, I might reach for this. I love how it looks. I do love it. I've kept it a lot cleaner than the boys. And my another bugbear, this heel, it's great, but I do find if you're going up and down stairs, which you wouldn't be doing on a run, but obviously, if I've worn it for a run and caught the train and gone down the steps, or worn it in the gym on the treadmill and then gone down some stairs, it catches on the back of stairs, which Hoka probably, why would you worry about that? But it is a weird sensation that you're kind of like, oh, I'm going to fall down the stairs. I didn't, but it's a bit strange.
I've done about 50k in these shoes so far, and that's been mainly around 10 to 12k efforts at easy pace. Although I have done some interval training to see how it performs when you're running at a faster pace. My view on the shoe from those runs is not much really. I'm not really getting a lot from this shoe. I'm not really understanding what the purpose is of this shoe, and I definitely don't really see why there's a carbon plate in it. I don't think it's a bad shoe by any stretch of the imagination. All of those runs I've done in it, it feels fine. I've had perfectly enjoyable short to distance, easy runs, and I've had no issues with it at all. But I've got many more shoes that do that exact same thing, and they are often a lot cheaper and also don't need a carbon plate to give me a nice experience on an easy run. I'm a big fan of cushion shoes, so if you look at this shoe, it's pretty obvious that there's a lot of cushioning in it. So when I saw it, I thought, well, maybe it might be a shoe that I'm going to enjoy, because I do like a lot of Hoka shoes, and when there's a cushion shoe, I generally warm to it quicker than probably some of the other run testers, because I like a lot of cushioning. And as a cushion shoe, it's fine. It delivers very similar to some of the other Hoka shoes I've tried. I've never run in the original Bondi, but I have run in a few of the Cliftons. And the midsole foam is pretty much the same as what you get in those shoes. It has a nice level of cushioning, but it's also not a really soft foam, so it's a bit more responsive, and probably a little bit too hard for me. I prefer a softer shoe, especially when it comes to easy training miles. On those easy runs, it does a fine job. It feels like your foot can move in a nice smooth motion. I definitely didn't dislike those runs at all, and it's quite a nice shoe for doing easy runs in. For faster runs, I didn't really get a lot out of it, especially when I was classing this as a carbon plate shoe. So I didn't really feel like it was a shoe particularly well designed for faster training sessions, and definitely not races, which is one of the things you probably expect from a carbon plate shoe. I think the outsole is fine. It's pretty much the same as what you get on any Hoka Oni shoe. The only issue I would say is that I'm starting to see a bit of wear and tear in this exposed midsection of midsole there, and that's only after 50k, so that it doesn't look great for me when it comes to durability, when it started to wear down that quickly already.
I think this is a reasonably solid shoe for kind of easy and long runs. There is a little bit of versatility there, but I really didn't like it at pace at all. I still don't really like the feel of the foam. Foams still aren't really Hoka's strong suit. And generally, I'd rather have something lighter and smaller on my foot. And you're probably going to find more exciting rides all round from other shoes. And it's also just really pricey. It's £180. You can find shoes that deliver pretty much in a similar way for a lot less, even that are quite expensive, like the Saucony Triumph 19, or something softer like the Asics Nova Blast 2, or even something just generally quite solid like the Puma Magnify Nitro. These all have like big stacks of cushioning, and they deliver maybe slightly more energetic rides, in my opinion, just because the foam's a little bit better, even though none of them have plates. And I guess, this is trying to be something a bit different, a carbon plated shoe for the masses. And in a way it delivers on that. It's more stable than many carbon plate shoes. It is built for kind of more general use, everyday use, but I would question whether you need a carbon plate in a shoe for that. I don't think it's adding a huge amount here is really the thing here. It makes the shoe a bit stiffer, and a bit harder, but at the end of the day, when you're using a shoe for mostly for what it's intended, which I would say would be kind of your base training, then you probably get by just as well with another max cushion shoe without a carbon plate in it, and maybe enjoy a slightly more energetic ride. Maybe this does the job it's intended to. I don't know if that job is a really necessary one for a lot of runners, in my opinion, but maybe just really like the idea of having a carbon plate in a shoe. And there aren't a lot of, I guess, shoes out there that have a carbon plate but don't have some of the maybe undesirable properties of carbon plate shoes, like even shoes built for training like this New Balance Fuel Cell TC, which have a carbon plate. They're quite high and unstable. Maybe things like the Saucony Endorphin Speed with a nylon plate are too firm for some people, but maybe that does fill a job. But in that case, my opinion is that probably the carbon plate is a little bit superfluous, and you'd probably enjoy another shoe just as more without spending £180.
Okay, so my verdict on the Bondi X, if I was to judge this shoe as a easy or daily training shoe, and you didn't tell me it had a carbon plate in it, and you didn't tell me the price, I'd probably say, not bad. It does the job. It feels quite comfortable. Definitely similar to a lot of the other Hoka Oni shoes that are out there. I wouldn't tell you that it was a bad shoe by any stretch of the imagination. Once you tell me that they've added a carbon plate into this shoe and it costs £180, then alarm bells start ringing, because for what you get from this shoe, I don't know why you would pay that money. The only thing I can think of is that if you are a big fan of the Bondi and you only want a Bondi and you want something that will cover you for faster training sessions and tempo sessions, this will do it, because, or hopefully will do it, because it's got this carbon plate in. So if you're a massive Bondi fan, you might wear this shoe and go, perfect, this is giving me the extra level of responsiveness and bounce that I've always wanted from my Bondi, because that's the only shoe I want to wear. If, however, you're looking at this as one of the many options of carbon plate shoes out there and thinking, well, maybe I can get the Bondi X instead of the Vaporfly or the Asics Metaspeed Sky or something like that, it's not going to do that job. It's a very different shoe, and it really shouldn't be classed the same as those sort of carbon plate super shoes that are designed for racing, because I just don't think this is designed for that. I think it's designed for just giving you a bit more efficiency from what you get from the original Bondi, which was really designed for those longer training sessions, and a nice bit of cushioning and comfort when you're doing that. £180, it's a very difficult decision to pick up this shoe, because I think there are many shoes that are significantly cheaper than this, some even around £100, that do a very similar job and don't have a carbon plate. And then the carbon plate shoes, if you're going to get it as a carbon plate option, it's not that far off some of the leading carbon plate shoes out there at the moment. So I can't quite work out what the use of the shoe is. But I don't think it's a bad shoe. I just don't think the reasoning for its existence is clear, and I think the price is too high.
I do love it. Would I buy it if I was buying a carbon fibre plate shoe? No. Would I buy it over the Bondi X? Sorry, the Bondi 7. Maybe, if I wanted a Bondi that would do more than long runs. But if I just want it for long runs, go for the Bondi 7. You won't go wrong. You won't regret it. It's great.
So my verdict on the Hoka Bondi X is that it's a hard one for me. I just wasn't, blown away in any of the runs that I did in this. I was expecting to in at least one of them, and it just didn't really happen for me. Yes, you are getting something that's really kind of softly kind of cushioned, more, softer than anything I've kind of used on a Hoka shoe. So it makes it ideal for those easy runs, but the carbon plate just didn't really make sense for me in the shoe, even when I tried to go a little bit quicker, because it's kind of counterproductive when you've got this kind of thicker heel, which I really noticed, and I really noticed the clunkiness in it for me. I had my issues with the upper as well. So for me, the Bondi X, I think there's better kind of easy run shoes out there you can spend less on. I think you can still get a comfortable upper, something that's kind of built to take in a lot of miles. I think this will do that. I just think, there's better shoes out there that can do that job as well for less.
So that's it from me and the guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and click that little bell icon, and check out the channel for all the other videos we've got, including the latest road and trail shoes and watches and headphones out at the moment. Thanks a lot for watching. See you soon.